Revealed, the heartwarming truth behind my husband's incredible wedding to an unexpected bride. Lily stared in disbelief at the reflection in the mirror. A veil cascaded down her back, delicate lace framing her face. This was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. But even as she stood in this wedding dress, heart racing with excitement, a pang of despair lurked beneath the surface. She loved Jake, oh how she loved him. But life had twisted their dreams into something unrecognizable. Did everyone see the cracks? Did they feel the weight of uncertainty hanging in the air? Outside, the neighborhood was alive with laughter. Maplewood's warm summer sun soaked the streets, bathing familiar houses in golden light. Friends and family mingled, their whispers a mix of admiration and judgment. Where others saw joy, Lily felt the simmering tension. It was palpable, almost like an unwelcome guest at the gathering. With each minute that passed, she thought about the years they had spent together and how their love had weathered storms no couple should have to face. Jake's smile had once been infectious. Now it felt strained, a mask hiding the burden of his family's looming eviction, the insurmountable pressure of survival weighing on his broad shoulders. As they prepared for this monumental leap, she found herself torn between her desire for bliss and the reality of their circumstances. "Are you ready?" Jake's voice broke her reverie. His blue eyes shimmered with a mixture of joy and hesitation, as though he were standing on the precipice of something monumental. "Always," she whispered, even as a tight knot formed in her chest. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As they stepped into the garden, the world transformed around them. The archway adorned with flowers glimmered like a fairy tale, but with every smile and nod from the audience, Lily felt a growing anxiety. Old friends exchanged glances, eyeing her dress, her accomplishments, the life she built while Jake struggled under the weight of expectations. Love should surpass class, but did the community think otherwise? In that moment of vulnerability, she felt an ancient truth lingering in the air. Would their love be enough against the tide of judgment? When Jake spoke his vows with trembling sincerity, pledging love and loyalty, she caught the flicker of something unsettling in the crowd's eyes. An unspoken worry crept in. Could they really escape the shadows of their past? As she took his hands, warmth seeped through her skin, a shared promise that sparked both hope and a surge of fear. Then, just when they dared to believe they could weather anything together, a harsh whisper broke the sacred moment. A family member stepped forward, accusations laced in their tone, laying bare the scrutiny that hovered like storm clouds above them. There they stood, a couple bound by love yet ensnared by judgment's fierce grip. Could their devotion transcend everything they had faced? Would love triumph over the walls built by their community? The questions hung thick in the air as everyone held their breaths, watching to see if redemption was truly within reach. The murmurs swept through the crowd like a cold wind, pulling Lily from her reverie. She could feel her heart pounding, each beat amplifying the weight of that moment. The accusatory voice belonged to Grace, Jake's older sister, notorious for her sharp tongue and protective nature. "You think you belong here, don't you?" Grace declared, her voice laced with disbelief, echoing the insecurity that had already settled in the pit of Lily's stomach. "What future do you really think you can offer him?" Lily's breath hitched. It felt like the ground had shifted beneath her, and for a fleeting moment, she thought she might crumble. But then Jake squeezed her hand, grounding her with the warmth and strength she had always admired. His gaze was fierce, filled with an unwavering determination that sparked something inside her. "Grace," Jake's voice was firm, yet there was an undercurrent of vulnerability. "Lily is more than enough for me." The words hung in the air like a lifeline tossed into turbulent waters. Lily felt the familiar warmth push back against the creeping ice of doubt. "But look around you." Grace gestured to the crowd, who held their breaths, eyes wide, as if anticipating a battle. I'm not ashamed of my life, Grace," Jake interrupted, a fire igniting in his veins as he spoke. "Every decision I made has led me to this moment." To Lily, "You know what we've been through." His voice broke slightly, revealing the weariness hidden beneath his bravado. "We don't need anyone else's approval. We need understanding." The garden buzzed with tension. Whispers twisted around them, but Lily focused only on Jake. His vulnerability spoke volumes louder than Grace's harshness. In that moment, he stood as a beacon of hope not just for himself, but for the love that had been forged in the fires of adversity. "Jake," Lily whispered, as tears welled in her eyes, "I don't want you fighting your family on our wedding day. We can just know." He replied fiercely, shaking his head, frustration flickering in his eyes. "You deserve to be celebrated. We both do. Our love isn't conditional on their approval." His declaration stirred something in Lily's heart. The pain they faced together had been monumental, and yet, here they were, still standing. It struck her as oddly beautiful how love, when true, thrives against resistance. With a deep breath, she turned to face Grace. "You may not understand me or my background, but I do love Jake. The kind of love that makes me want to lift him up, not tear him down. Isn't that what family is about?" She felt every eye in the crowd boring into her, listening intently. Grace's expression softened imperceptibly, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. For the first time, doubt seemed to ripple through the accusing tone. Perhaps this was more than just an unworthy bride standing in familial territory. "Love can bloom in places you least expect," Jake said, glancing back at Lily, the hint of a smile breaking through the tension. Just then, the music began to swell again, an angelic melody floating through the garden, pulling Lily back from the brink of despair. Would this moment stand against judgment untear the past that had clung to their love, or would it forge ahead, transcending the doubts that littered their journey? "Let us finish this," Jake whispered, determined and resolute. His eyes locked on hers. As they turned back to their friends and family, Lily felt a new surge of strength within her. They'd come this far, they deserved to see it through. But with each step forward, the question loomed: was their love truly unbreakable, or was it destined to be tested in ways they had yet to confront? As the vows were to be spoken again, the tension twisted like a heavy fog around them, thick with uncertainty and hope. Would acceptance come, or would judgment persist? Lily's breath caught in her throat as she faced the unknown that awaited them on the other side of the altar. Lily steadied herself, heart racing as she stood beside Jake, the world around them fading into a blur of faces and murmurs. It felt surreal, like watching a movie unfolding where she struggled to believe she was the leading lady. She glanced at Jake, who looked resolute, and she drew strength from him, their fingers entwined like vines overcoming a storm. The music swelled, surrounding them in a warmth that momentarily dulled the cold stares of disapproval. When Jake turned back to face the crowd, there was a flicker of defiance in his expression that ignited something in Lily. She took a deep breath and squared her shoulders, feeling the energy shift ever so slightly. "Everyone deserves to be loved for who they are," Jake spoke, voice steady but emotive, resonating through the garden with every word carrying weight. "Not for who you think they should be." The crowd stirred, some nodding, others still unsure, but for the first time, Lily saw hesitation in Grace's eyes. "Why can't you see that this connection is real?" Jake continued, directed at his sister. "Lily is my choice. She accepts me wholly, past and present. Why can't you?" Lily felt a rush of gratitude wash over her at Jake's words. She almost cried, realizing the depth of his commitment not just to her, but to their love. This was more than just a wedding. This was their battleground where they'd fight for their right to be together. "Jake, it's not that simple," Grace finally said, her voice cracking, betraying a hint of vulnerability. "I just worry, what if you end up regretful? What if she can't give you the future you deserve?" "Regret?" His voice turned soft, almost pleading. "I've been through enough to know that the only true regret comes from not taking a leap of faith." He turned to Lily, those dark eyes shining with conviction. "You are my leap, Grace. I would choose you, Lily, 100 times in this life and the next." Every shared gaze held a fireworks worth of emotions: love, fear, joy. The crowd seemed to collectively exhale, hairline fractures appearing in the walls that had been built around them. Lily's heart swelled, feeling like a flower blooming in spring. Maybe, just maybe, love would burst through those walls of skepticism. Lily took a step forward, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. I don't come from the same place as you, Grace. But I promise to love Jake with everything I have. To nurture his dreams, to stand tall beside him. Isn't that what love is? Supporting one another, no matter where we started? She held Grace's gaze, daring to hope for an understanding that she knew deep down could be there. The buzzing of whispers seemed to quiet momentarily as the weight of her words settled over the crowd. Was Grace coming around, or was it too soon to hope? Grace hesitated, searching Lily's eyes as if trying to discern a deeper truth. The crowd swirled with tension, all eyes glued to the unveiled moment of potential reconciliation. Your heart doesn't often get this chance to change the course of relationships. Suddenly, Lily felt a rush of vulnerability that threatened to overwhelm her. If you can't accept me, then our journey may be tougher than it has to be, but I'm willing to fight for Jake, for us. I hope someday you will stand beside us. As she spoke, tears brimmed in her eyes, not out of fear, but from an unwavering conviction, a testament to their journey and what it yet held. The air crackled with anticipation, leaving the guests on edge. Then Grace took a breath, her expression shifting uneasily as if battling with her own emotions. I need time to understand, she finally said, the words feeling heavy yet soaked in uncertainty. Lily's heart sank slightly. It wasn't quite the acceptance she had yearned for, but it was a possibility, a crack of light in the darkness. Time is all I ask for, Jake said softly, squeezing Lily's hand. As the exchange hung in the air, a new melody began to emerge. This one spoke of healing, and Lily felt hope piercing through the fog. But even as relief washed over her, a nagging thought crept back in. What if Grace Estat was only the beginning, not the end? As the vows awaited, Lily's heartbeat thundered. What would come next? Would their love be enough to shatter the barriers that danger lurked ahead? The atmosphere tensed as the moment stretched into silence. Lily looked up at Jake, his lips slightly parted as he considered the implications of Grace's words. He had fought so hard for their love. Would that fight continue beyond today? People shifted in their seats, and Lily could feel their gazes like needles prickling her skin. But she tried to focus, to ground herself in Jake's presence. Despite the uncertainty hanging in the air, she felt a flicker of warmth from their intertwined fingers. It was a reminder of why they were standing there in the first place. Do you really believe that? Jake suddenly asked Grace, breaking the stillness. His tone was gentle but firm. Do you truly think I'll regret this? Grace flinched at the vulnerability of his question. It's not just you, Jake. It's Lily too. She deserves the best. And I don't know if you can give her that. The crowd murmured. Lily's heart twisted. Did Grace think her love wasn't enough? Was she so irrevocably tied to her expectations of Jake that she couldn't see the reality of what they shared? Lily stepped forward again, her voice shaking but resolute. You're right, Grace. I do deserve the best. And so does Jake. But what you don't see is that we make each other better. This isn't just a choice, it's a partnership. He has given me strength when I felt weak. Her words hung in the air as the gravity of them settled. The sincerity in her voice stirred something within the crowd. She locked eyes with a few sympathetic faces, whose warmth seemed to replace the skepticism around them. Grace hesitated, her fierce demeanor softening slightly. I just want to protect my brother. I don't want him to settle. Jake interrupted, frustration flickering across his face. I'm not settling, Grace. I'm choosing to be with someone who makes me whole. Can't you understand that? Tensions radiated through the group, but it felt like hope was inching its way into the conversation. The melody of the wedding played in the background, reminding everyone of the celebration meant to be. Lily turned back to Grace, feeling the strength build inside her heart. If you believe that our past defines our future, then I can't agree with you. Love isn't built on what you see on the surface. It's the unseen ties that bind two people together. As the gravity of her words filled the garden, A silence fell over the onlookers. Lily felt the tremor of her own fear. What if this wasn't working? What if nothing she said could change Grace's mind? Grace's face was a mix of contemplation and pain. But what do you really want? She asked softly, her defenses lowering. What does this future look like for you both? Lily smiled through her emotions. I want a future filled with laughter, a home where love is the foundation, and a family to cherish. I want to be by Jake's side through every high and low. We'll fight together, and we'll build our dreams together. The vulnerability hung thick between them, but this time it felt less like a chasm, more like a bridge forming. I need to think about what you've said, Grace finally acknowledged, the tension in her shoulders easing. Jake exhaled sharply, the fear that had knotted his brow easing into a flicker of relief. Yet, Lily couldn't help but feel the weight of uncertainty lingering in the air. Thank you, Jake said sincerely, for being willing to consider it. As a new wave of music began to swell, a different reality loomed ahead of them. And even though they had made strides in communicating, the path ahead was still fraught with challenges. But pride surged in Lily's heart. They had taken a step forward. Yet a question loomed. Would that step be enough to erase the doubts that lingered between the three of them? Just then, a loud crash echoed through the garden, ripping through the moment of resolution like a thundercloud. Everyone turned to see a commotion by the entrance. What had just happened? The crash sent a jolt through the crowd, and Lily's heart raced. She whipped her head toward the entrance, where a large table had toppled over, spilling drinks and decorations everywhere. A figure stood at the center of the chaos, hands raised in weakness. It was Sarah, a family friend and one of the bridesmaids. Her eyes widened in horror as she glanced around, taking in the surprised faces. The music faded into a whisper while everyone tried to process what had just occurred. Sorry. I'm so sorry, Sarah called out, her voice wavering. She knelt to gather the mess, but it only amplified the awkwardness hanging in the air. The tension that had just begun to ease snapped back into place, thick and uncomfortable. Are you okay? Jake rushed toward Sarah, concern etched across his features. He stepped over the scattered decorations, not caring about the disarray, but focused solely on her. You really scared us. I'm fine, she said, her cheeks flushed. I just tripped. The table was wobbly, and I thought I could. It's all right. Just breathe. His voice was soothing as he tried to help her up. But all Lily could think about was the moment shattered again, the fragile connection she and Grace were building disintegrating like fine dust in the wind. Grace shifted from where she stood, a mixture of annoyance and worry flitting across her face. You didn't have to do that, Sarah, she murmured, but her agitation was interrupted by the sudden laughter from another group nearby, who seemed to be amused by the debacle. Lily glanced at Jake, who was still helping Sarah up. His expression was a blend of concern and exasperation. That automatic energy between him and Sarah didn't sit well with her. It felt like a tangible reminder of the uncertainty still lurking around them. As Jake led Sarah back to her feet, sparking some random conversation about wedding mishaps, Lily steadied herself. Inside, she oscillated between feeling hopeful about Grace's softened stance and worried about distractions that could pull them apart. Taking a breath, she pushed down her uneasiness. She needed to talk to Grace while they had this brief moment of understanding. Lily stepped towards her, ready to seize the moment before it slipped away again. Grace? She said softly, catching her sister-in-law's attention. Their eyes met, and for a second, Lily felt the weight of everything resting between them. Can we talk? Just us for a minute? Grace looked around, caught between the loud chatter of the crowd and the intimacy of this moment. Finally, she nodded, her expression pensive. All right, let us step to the side, she replied, gesturing toward the quieter part of the garden. They moved away from the commotion, finding a secluded spot behind a large flowering bush. The garden's fragrances mingled in the air, a sweet distraction from the chaotic noise behind them. But Lily's heart pounded harder as she prepared to lay her truth bare once more. Lily, I know I seem overprotective, Grace began, her tone more vulnerable than before. But I just don't want to see you two make a mistake. It's a big world out there. You're worried about our love not being strong enough? Lily interjected gently. Or not perfect enough. Grace's eyes widened. It's just that I care so much for Jake. I've seen him through his struggles. What if you can't handle the weight of that? I don't need things to be perfect. I just want to be his partner, for real, Lily replied, her voice steady with conviction. We're committed to each other. That counts for everything, right? Having each other as backs? Grace hesitated, considering her words. Just then, a sudden noise drew both their eyes back to the crowd. Another crash? Was that someone falling again? Lily felt the tension bubble back up as she quickly turned her gaze, knowing one loud evening would not pull them apart. Wait was all she managed to say before the crowd gasped, "What now?" Lily's breath hitched as she turned back to the spectacle unfolding before her. The crowd was parting like the Red Sea, and in the center stood Jake, face ashen, his eyes darting nervously. She felt an electric jolt of panic shoot straight through her. "Jake!" she shouted, rushing forward, her heart pounding louder than the scattered clinking of glass and laughter. Grace followed closely behind, her expression morphing from concern to disbelief. The crowd gasped again, this time in a chorus of mixed emotions. Holding a microphone, Jake took a deep breath, scanning the sea of familiar faces with an intensity that made the noise subside. Lily's heart raced. Was this a proposal? Everyone? Jake's voice broke the silence, trembling with both uncertainty and purpose. I need to say something. It's really important. Lily's stomach twisted. She couldn't tell if she felt excitement or dread, her emotions tangled like twinkling lights. Grace stood frozen beside her, mouth slightly agape. I know tonight was supposed to be about family and love, Jake continued, his voice cracking slightly. But there's something I've been hiding, and it's time to share it. I can't let another moment pass without telling you all. Lily's mouth dried up. A million scenarios flooded her mind. Was he about to proclaim he was in love with someone else? A sudden chill washed over her. Sarah, please come up here, Jake called, locking eyes with the startled bridesmaid. Lily watched in horror as Sarah approached. She couldn't understand what was happening. A feeling of betrayal washed over her like icy water. They didn't need another mishap, did they? You're doing great, Jake, Sarah whispered encouragingly as she stood beside him, her cheeks flushed. With shaky hands, Jake took a step closer to Sarah. Sarah, you've been a part of my life in ways I didn't expect. He turned back to the crowd, his eyes glistening with something raw and genuine. You made me realize that love isn't just about the romantic moments, it's about the friendships that support us, the connections that lift us when we fall. Lily's heart felt like it had been yanked from her chest. Was he trying to say that he loved Sarah? Was their connection stronger than she believed? The air was thick with tension, and she glanced at Grace, who was staring at Jake with wide eyes, all mask of annoyance gone. What is he doing? Grace whispered, confusion colored with worry. Jake continued. I care about you, everyone here, and I especially care for you, Sarah. But tonight is also about celebrating Lily, he said, raising his voice. You taught me what true love means, Lily. I love you so much more than I knew how to say out loud, and I want to promise you, in front of all our friends and family, that there's nothing and no one that can ever change that. Lily blinked, the world around her blurring into a whirlpool of emotions. Her heart soared with relief, yet the knot of uncertainty still clutched at her stomach. And Lily, Jake said, tears brimming in his eyes, will you marry me? A wave of awe swept through the crowd, but all Lily could do was stare, tears pooling in her eyes. She felt torn between joy for their undeniable bond and concern for the fragility of it all. The crowd erupted into cheers and applause, but amidst the noise, all Lily could hear were the whispers of doubt ricocheting in her mind. She had to choose her words carefully. Jake, she started, but a voice from the back called, wait, there's more. Like a spark igniting a fire, every eye turned toward the new source of chaos. What now? Lily felt her heart drop as the voice echoed in the room. Panic surged through her. Who would dare interrupt this moment? She turned slowly, searching the crowd for the source of the commotion, dread pooling in her stomach like heavy stones. Jake looked equally confused, his surprise morphing into concern. What do you mean, there's more? He called out, his voice edged with anxiety. The crowd murmured, their excitement shifting into a restless anticipation. Lily felt the weight of their gaze, their hopes hanging thick in the air. From the back of the room, a figure pushed through the onlookers. With her hair cascading over her shoulders and a confident stride, Jessica, Jake's older sister, made her way to the front. Tears glistened in her eyes, but her expression was fiery, determined. "Jake, you need to hear this," Jessica called, stopping just a few feet from her brother. "This can't go on without the truth." Lily's mind raced. What could she possibly mean? Was this about to spiral into another disaster? "Jessica, what are you talking about?" Jake's voice trembled as he took a step closer to his sister, desperation etched on his features. Lily glanced at Grace, who was now wide-eyed and biting her lip. The tension in the room was palpable, tightening around them like a noose. She felt a knot forming in her throat, emotions crashing like waves. "I just found out something you all need to know," Jessica continued, bravely holding her ground and addressing the crowd. "It's about the real reason some people are here tonight." She turned towards Sarah and the other bridesmaids, her gaze fierce. "About the friendships we assumed were genuine." A low murmur rippled through the crowd, whispers mixing with confusion and concern. Lily's pulse quickened. Was Sarah involved in something deceitful? "Jessica, please," Jake pleaded, his voice strained. "Not now." But Jessica pressed on, her voice unwavering. "If I don't say anything, it might ruin everything later. We can't build a future on lies." Lily's heart raced, every beat accompanied by the sound of murmurs gaining momentum in the crowd. She could feel the collective breath-holding, anticipation tangling with bewilderment. What was this truth? Would it shatter everything? "Stop it," Sarah interjected. She stepped forward, blue eyes flashing with the kind of anger that could spark a fire. "This isn't your moment, Jessica. This is about love, not drama." "Maybe that's precisely why you need to hear this," Jessica shot back, her expression fierce. "You think you're protecting your world, but the truth has a funny way of coming out." "Isn't that right, Sarah?" She crossed her arms, daring Sarah to respond. Lily felt lightheaded. The air was electric, charged with unspoken fears. She couldn't help but wonder how this would impact Jake. Would this truth change everything between them? "Okay, enough," Jake burst out, frustration boiling over. "Everyone, please. Let us talk about this calmly. Lily, please try to understand." Lily's heart sank. The calm she hoped for seemed impossible now. She looked up at Jake, searching his eyes for clarity amid the chaos. Then, in a dramatic turn of events, the lights flickered, casting shadows over the crowd. The music stopped abruptly. Silence fell thick, a heavy blanket smothering the moment. "Okay, let us hear it," Jake said softly, resigned. "What is this big reveal?" Lily braced herself, dread pooling in her stomach. The crowd held its breath, dawning realization settling in. She squeezed Jake's hand tightly, needing his warmth and strength. What would Jessica reveal that could change everything they'd fought for? "Just know," Jessica said sharply, "this isn't what you think. But it's long overdue." And with that, the secrets began to unfold. Jessica's voice rang out, slicing through the tense silence. "I saw the messages, Jake. The ones Sarah thought no one would find." The room shifted. Gasps echoed while Lily's heartbeat thundered in her ears. She glanced at Sarah, searching for any hint of denial. Instead, Sarah's face paled, her confident demeanor wavering. "What messages?" Jake's voice was now barely more than a whisper, filled with disbelief as he looked between Jessica and Sarah, desperate for answers. "I didn't want to believe it either," Jessica continued, her eyes filled with urgency. "But they're right there in plain sight. Secrets. Lies. Trust that's been betrayed." "Stop. This isn't the time or place," Sarah shot back, her voice now tinged with panic. "You're twisting things, Jess." "No," Jessica insisted, stepping closer to her brother, strong and resolute. "You're the one who can't face the truth. You've been acting like everything's perfect in your little world, and it's not. I thought you deserved to know." Jake's gaze darted from his sister to his fiancée, his confusion shifting into something darker. "What is going on, Sarah? Is it true? Have you been hiding something from me? Lily's heart ached for him. She wanted to scream that this wasn't how things were supposed to be. Joy, love, those should have been the only emotions in this room tonight. Not this chaotic mess. Jake, please, don't listen to her. This isn't about me. Sarah's voice trembled, cracking under the weight of accusation. It's about Jessica trying to ruin our wedding. The crowd watched on, breaths held, tensions rising like a tide. Everyone's eyes were glued to the unfolding drama. Even those who didn't know them were captivated by the emotional stakes. Lies can break everything, Jessica said firmly, meeting Sarah's eyes, unflinching. Are you really willing to risk your future for this? For what you've done? I didn't do anything. Sarah's face flushed with anger and vulnerability, the fire in her eyes still present but now undercut by fear. I would never hurt you, Jake. Lily clenched her fists, the knot in her stomach twisting tighter. She could see the cracks forming in their relationship, just a few words away from crumbling altogether. Jake's loyalty was evident but now challenged, torn between the two women he loved in different ways. Then why were you talking to your ex? Jessica pressed, her voice rising, breaking through the tension. How do you explain those texts? You said you'd moved on, but this proof begs to differ. Jake flinched. The air around them was thick with uncertainty, and Lily held her breath, feeling as if the ground might open beneath them all. Okay, Jake finally said, his voice steady but fraught. Just tell me, what did the messages say? Jessica took a deep breath, ready to reveal the damning truth. The crowd leaned in, their collective anticipation electric. There was no backing out now. This was it. Would Sarah deny it, fight for her love? Would Jake walk away from the wedding he thought was perfect? Jake, Jessica began, her voice softening, you deserve to know everything because every decision you make from here on out could change your life forever. Lily could hardly breathe. There was no going back. What would Jake do when he heard the truth? How would any of them recover from this? And in that charged silence, Lily realized how fragile their connections really were. She squeezed Jake's hand tighter, wishing she could hold on to something solid. Would they all emerge from this moment unscathed, or was this the beginning of a heartbreaking unraveling? What if the truth didn't just break Sarah and Jake but tore through Lily as well, exposing things she hadn't even begun to process? Jessica's breath caught in her throat as she prepared to speak. The weight of the words loomed heavy in the air, and the hushed crowd waited with bated breath. Jake's troubled expression mirrored the turmoil swirling in Lily's chest. She felt so small as the moment stretched out, filling the space between everyone. Jake, Jessica finally said, her voice barely above a whisper but firm. The messages were about more than just casual catch-ups. They reveal a conversation that goes deeper, much deeper. She paused, glancing at Sarah. The silence in the room seemed to amplify every heartbeat, every shallow breath. What do you mean? Jake's eyes narrowed, and he stepped forward, desperate for clarity. Just tell me. They were personal, Jessica said, the words tumbling out like rocks from a broken dam. Flirty. You need to know that Sarah was reconnecting with someone she claimed to have moved on from. Lily's pulse quickened at the revelation. She could see it dawning on Jake, the dread creeping into his features. He looked from Jessica to Sarah, searching for answers, the disappointment etching deeper lines on his face. Is that true, Sarah? His voice broke slightly, wavering with disbelief. You were talking to your ex? How could you keep this from me? Jake, Sarah's voice trembled and faltered, the fire suddenly extinguished from her eyes. It was just a couple of messages. I didn't want to hurt you. I swear I thought I was over it. Over it? Jessica scoffed, stepping towards Sarah, the hurt spilling from her voice. You've been stringing both of them along, haven't you? Pretending everything was perfect while keeping this secret. I wasn't stringing him along, Sarah argued, her voice breaking. I was trying to figure out my feelings. It didn't mean anything. Lily's heart sank as she watched the confrontation unfold. The love and hope Jake had once carried seemed to dim with each passing word. Figuring it out? Jake's eyes shone with unshed tears, hurt flooding his features. You could have talked to me. Instead, you lied, and now look where we are. You put everything at risk. The room felt so tight, the heat of emotion swirling around them. Guests shifted uneasily, glancing between the trio, unsure of how to react. They could feel the palpable breach forming in the once solid marriage dream. "Maybe this is where we need to be," Jessica intervened, urgency filling her voice. "Jake, don't make a decision based on lies. You deserve a partner who has always been honest, who cherished you and your love. What kind of marriage starts with deceit? I never meant to hurt you." Sarah continued, tears spilling over her cheeks. "I thought I was protecting you. By lying?" Jake countered, the anger and sorrow intertwining in his tone. "You think that us protection?" Lily's heart thudded as the pieces fell into place. Each crack seemed to echo her own unresolved emotions, her secret ache lurking as she watched them spiral further into uncertainty. She had sat idly by, believing their love would shield her from exposing her own complicated feelings for Jake. Would Jake ever look at her the same way again, knowing that she wished for his happiness even if it meant someone else? "Please," Sarah cried, reaching for Jake, but he stepped back, shaken by the revelation. Lily sensed a shift in the air. The future hung by a thread, pulsing with uncharted realities. Would Jake reach for Sarah, forgiving and understanding, or would he step away forever? The night teetered on the brink of transformation, veering dangerously towards either redemption or irreparable loss. And as tension filled the space, the final question loomed: how would the truth redefine not only their relationships, but their very selves? The night held its breath, the air thick with anticipation and unresolved emotions. Jake stood before them caught, torn between the affection he felt for Sarah and the truth that twisted like a knife in his heart. Silence wrapped around the crowd, every eye trained on him, waiting for his next words. "How long were you talking to him, Sarah?" His voice was low but steady, thick with that painful mixture of hurt and betrayal. "How long have you kept this from me?" Sarah opened her mouth, but the words stuck in her throat. A single tear rolled down her cheek. It was just a few messages. "I didn't want to hurt you. It didn't mean anything." "Then why did you hide it?" Jake's reply was sharp, his eyes piercing into hers. The gravity of the moment felt like an avalanche. All the dreams they had spun together, now seemingly suspended over an abyss. "Jake, please just listen," Sarah pleaded, reaching out again, desperation laced in her voice. "I thought I was over him. I loved you. It just got complicated, and you thought lying was the answer?" He interrupted, shaking his head sadly. The disappointment etched on his features was a mirror to the torn feelings swirling within Lily. To watch Jake grapple with this, his love for Sarah trapped in the web of her lies, broke Lily's heart. The bitterness of uncertainty nipped at her insides. She wanted to scream at the unfairness of it all. It should have been a night of celebration, not a dissection of trust. As Jake took a step back, he glanced towards Lily. For a moment, their eyes locked, and she felt a connection, a silent understanding that she was ready to stand beside him, no matter what game fate played tonight. "But I can't forgive you if you don't tell me the whole truth," he demanded, voice wavering at the edge of resolve. "This isn't just a mistake, it's a betrayal." Sarah's face crumpled, the weight of reality crashing down on her. "I never meant to betray you," she cried. "I was confused, and I thought I could manage it. I didn't want to ruin this for you." Lily watched in an awful yet compelling silence as Jake's features hardened. "Now you've done it," he said softly, his voice almost a whisper. His heartache was palpable, shifting the atmosphere. "Our entire future hangs on a thread of trust that you shattered." Some murmurs of encouragement started weaving their way around the crowd. They didn't know the whole story, but the sense of betrayal resonated loud and clear. Another wave of realization washed over the guests. They were all witnesses to a love that now stood at a precipice. "I never wanted this," Sarah whispered, anguish painting her voice. "I thought I could still make it right, but I didn't want to lose you." "Why did you choose to keep this from me?" Jake asked, tears gleaming in his eyes. "Do you even see what you've done?" Before Sarah could respond, Jessica stepped in, her voice steady and unwavering. "We can't brush this under the rug. Love isn't just about feelings, it's about respect and honesty. You owe Jake the truth, Sarah, if there's any hope left." "Yes," Jake said, nodding at Jessica, What is it you're really feeling? He addressed Sarah, his voice now holding a gentler edge, subdued but persistent. Her voice faltered again, heart and mind at war within her. I was afraid that the connection I had with him would mean I didn't love you enough. I thought maybe if I buried it, it wouldn't matter. Yes, that's where you went wrong, Jake retorted, the hurt bubbling up, hiding only poisons what could be been good. This is what brought us here. He stepped back, attempting to regain composure, grounding himself while touching his own heart. Lily's heart sank. Could this truly be it? Could love be behind the curtains of betrayal, mutually exclusive? She didn't want to see him hurt, didn't want the illusion of forever to crumble, yet here they sat, on the precipice of shifting paths. Jake, she finally breathed, stepping forward, reaching for him. You deserve better than lies, and I want to give you everything, Lily, please. Jake's eyes locked onto hers, filled with so much emotion it took her breath away. I need to figure this out first. In that moment, she saw the realization dawning on Jake how he had loved Sarah fiercely, yet clung even more tightly to Lily, who had been true even in silence. The truth of who they all were struck like lightning. Then let us talk, Sarah whispered desperately. Let us talk about what this means. The crowd held their emotions close as they processed the tension. Every gaze shifted like a storm cloud above their heads. Emotions could snap in any direction. Jake, Lily's voice was soft but steady. You deserve someone who chooses you openly and honestly. I know, he murmured, looking down. Truthfully, I feel like I don't know what happens next. Lily felt a sharp pang at his words. It was true none of them knew where the road would lead, but standing together in the truth had to mean something, a step towards rebuilding. Spirit and conversation began to fill the air again. The crowd was buzzing with hushed murmurs, casting hopeful glances toward Jake and Sarah. I never wanted to hurt you, Sarah said, her tears flowing freely. I'll do anything to earn your trust back. Jake's jaw tightened, but for the first time since the storms of revelations erupted, he took a deep breath. Trust is something we can rebuild, but it'll take time, Sarah. More than I can give right now. Sarah nodded, raw pain visible on her face. You're right, and I'm so sorry. I'll respect whatever you need. Lily could feel the fragile space stabilizing. The acceptance of responsibility hung in the air, and the dynamics morphed. Not into a united front, not yet, but every pulse of tension eased slightly, giving room for healing. Let us take everything one step at a time, Jake said finally, stepping back as the crowd murmured their quiet reassurances. From here, we face the truth. All of it. With that, connections began to shift from betrayal to honesty, fragile but present scars that could still bring them together, if only enough strength remained, and in that moment of vulnerability, Lily realized they had all lost something precious. The journey ahead would be difficult, but they could only navigate forward through authenticity, acceptance, and a commitment to face their truth together. As the dust began to settle, she squeezed Jake's hand one last time, willing him to feel the strength of love that could endure. We can do this, she whispered, and for the first time, she felt hope again. Let us show everyone what love is really made of, he replied, the fire reigniting in his eyes. With that shared promise echoing in the garden, all stood in the aftermath not quite healed, but a little more ready to forge their paths, hand in hand, ready for whatever might come next. This was their moment to step forward, to rise against the shadows of the past. What lay ahead remained uncertain, but amidst the mess, they had each other, and that could make all the difference. Together. Lily's heart swelled, feeling radiances of courage fill the air. The journey was far from over, but standing amidst the vulnerability, she knew that love, when true, could weather any storm. If only they'd hold tight to the light, the journey would surely shine brighter from this moment on. And as the echoes of uncertainty began to dissipate, Lily felt something she thought had been lost, an unwavering belief in the power of love. It was the heart of their story, the touchstone for their future. Now it was time to move forward. Now it was time to embrace what lay ahead, and if you're still here and share in the beauty of this transformation, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. We rely on you to keep the stories flowing. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your engagement can change everything for the channel and help reach out to those who really need these uplifting stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it really helps us, trust me. And comment your thoughts and feelings about the ending, your voice matters. Let's keep this conversation going.